There are mornings when you wake up and feel like it's too late. Too late to forgive, too late to start over, too late to become the person you once dreamed of being. But that voice isn't the truth. It's fear, it's fatigue, it's the echo of old wounds pulling you backward. The real truth is this: as long as you are breathing, you still have a chance. And no, you don't need a dramatic turning point, a perfect plan, or someone to rescue you. What you need is to begin exactly where you are, with small, intentional choices. This video isn't here to preach lofty theories. It's here to remind you that you are not stuck. You are not defined by what you didn't do, and you can rewrite your life, starting today. Together, we'll walk through powerful but practical insights that don't just make sense, they help you move. If you've ever found yourself putting your life on hold because you thought it was too late, then this video is for you. Subscribe if you want more grounded, honest content that helps you move forward. And in the comments, share what you've believed was too late. Because maybe, just maybe, it's not the end. Maybe it's the first line of a new chapter. One the past only lives if you let it. Have you ever noticed how some people aren't really living in the present? They're stuck in reruns of an old life, as if their mind keeps playing a broken broadcast on loop. They speak of the same mistake over and over again, the same breakup, the same failure, the same opportunity they let slip away. It's like their entire identity has been frozen in that one moment, like life pressed pause and never resumed. But the truth is, the past has no power unless you keep giving it a microphone. Memories in themselves are not the problem. It's the way we let those memories speak into our present that causes the damage. The past has no legs. It cannot walk into today unless we invite it. And the most dangerous part? Most of the time, we don't even realize we're doing it. We think we're being reflective, being honest, being careful, but what we're really doing is keeping old pain alive by repeating it, feeding it, rehearsing it until it feels real again. When you keep reliving your old story, you don't give the future a chance to begin. You mute the voice that's trying to lead you forward, and instead you turn up the volume on what has already passed. That's why starting over requires one brutal but liberating truth. The past is over. It happened. It shaped you, yes, it left marks, but it no longer owns you unless you let it. Every time you replay that one conversation, that missed opportunity, that betrayal, you are making the past relevant again. But relevance doesn't equal power. You choose what carries weight in your life, and the longer you carry it, the more it weighs you down. Not because the memory is heavy, but because your attachment to it is. There's a difference between learning from the past and living in it. Learning creates movement. Living in it creates paralysis. And that's the trap most people fall into. They confuse rumination with responsibility. They think if they let it go, they're letting themselves off the hook. But that's not healing. That's punishment. Letting go isn't saying it didn't matter. It's saying it no longer defines you. When you stop speaking the language of regret, you start making room for something else, a reset, a fresh alignment, a quiet but powerful decision to no longer be ruled by things you can't change. That's the beginning of reclaiming your life. That's the essence of starting over right now. And this doesn't require a dramatic shift. It begins with a single mental choice. I no longer give this story the power to narrate my life. Maybe it's a divorce. Maybe it's a business you lost. Maybe it's simply the years you feel you wasted. You can still take control of your life. You can still build something meaningful from here. What matters now is not what happened back then, but what you're willing to do now, despite it. Here's the truth that most people overlook. The future doesn't need you to be perfect. It needs you to be present, fully here, fully available. And that can't happen if you're still emotionally living in the past. If your mind is busy negotiating with what can't be changed, you miss what can. And this is where transformation begins, not with erasing the past, but by refusing to relive it one more day. So today, ask yourself, what part of your past have you been keeping alive just because it's familiar? What old story have you let speak louder than your current voice? And what would it look like if you chose to put that story down? Not forever, not perfectly, but just for today. Because here's the promise. When you stop letting the past talk, the present starts to speak. And what it says can change everything. 2. You are not your mistakes. You are your next choice. Imagine walking into a room where everyone remembers you only for the one thing you said wrong 5 years ago. Not for who you are now, not for what you've learned or how you've grown, but for that single moment when you slipped, faltered, or failed. You've changed, but they still see you through a lens that froze you in time. Now shift that lens inward. How often do you do that to yourself? How often do you define your present worth by your past mistakes? You missed one opportunity, and now you call yourself unreliable. You fell short of a goal once, and now you wear the label, not disciplined enough. You walked away from something years ago, and ever since, you've told yourself you can't commit. But here's the truth most people forget. That version of you, flawed, learning, overwhelmed, was never the final version. That was a chapter, not the whole story. And it never had the power to write the ending unless you hand it the pen. You are not your mistakes. You are the choice you make next, and the choice after that, and the one after that. What you did yesterday was a reflection of who you were in that moment. Who you become today is a reflection of who you decide to be now. The reason this matters so deeply is that most people believe that mistakes are proof of identity. But they're not. They're evidence of movement, of risk, of trying, of being human. And being human doesn't mean you're broken, it means you're constantly becoming. You don't have to be perfect to reset your life. You just have to stop letting your past decisions veto your current growth. The next step forward is always within reach, but you have to stop using past missteps as evidence that you're unworthy of taking it. The mind loves to create stories. It remembers moments of pain or regret and uses them as material for a narrative. I'm not good enough. I'm always this way. I never change. But stories can be rewritten. Narratives can evolve, and identities can shift. What determines that shift isn't time, it's intention. It's the willingness to stop carrying a mistake like it's a part of your personality and instead treat it like what it really was. A decision that taught you something. A choice that didn't serve you, but can now inform better choices moving forward. This is the heart of personal transformation. It's not found in denying your mistakes, it's in owning them without becoming them. When you start to separate yourself from your past errors, something powerful happens. You begin to act from a place of freedom rather than fear. You make decisions that align with your present clarity instead of your past confusion. You begin to build a new identity based on action, not on accusation. And in that identity, there's space for growth, compassion, and quiet strength. Because real strength isn't pretending you've never fallen, it's having the courage to stand up again and again, no matter how many times you've stumbled. So the question becomes, what choice are you making today? Not tomorrow, not next month, right now. Are you reinforcing the story that you're a product of failure? Or are you stepping into a new mindset, one where every new decision reclaims your direction? The past is fixed, it cannot be changed, but the next step is alive. It's real. It's yours. Don't let a dead moment define a living future. Choose again, not because you're trying to erase who you were, but because you finally realize who you're capable of becoming. And that version of you, that next choice, is more powerful than any past mistake. Always. 3. Stop justifying delay. There's a man who lives a few houses down from me. Early 50s, kind eyes, quiet energy. Years ago, he told me he used to dream of becoming a musician. He played guitar in his 20s, wrote lyrics that never left the notebook, and imagined one day releasing a song that would mean something. I asked him recently if he'd ever tried recording something, even just one verse. He gave a small laugh and said, "I think I'll finally have time once I retire." I waited a beat, then asked, "But have you written anything lately?" His smile faded. "Not really," he said. "I guess I'm still waiting for inspiration." That moment stuck with me, not because he was wrong, but because he said something so many of us believe. That inspiration comes first and action comes later. But the truth is much simpler and much harder. Inspiration doesn't come before movement, it comes from it. We delay our dreams, our healing, our growth, because we're waiting to feel ready, to feel motivated, to feel a spark. But those feelings are rarely the starting point, they're the result. What keeps most people stuck isn't laziness, it's rationalized fear. It's a perfectly packaged excuse that sounds reasonable. I'll start when work slows down. I'll begin after the holidays. I just need more clarity first. And while these explanations feel safe, they are often masks for the same silent fear. What if I start and fail? What if I'm not good enough? What if it doesn't work? So instead of facing those questions, we build routines around delay. We fill our time with things that are urgent but not important. We check the news, scroll endlessly, reorganize the kitchen, tell ourselves we're thinking it through, but we're not. We're just avoiding the discomfort of beginning. What most don't realize is that delay is exhausting. It drains your energy, not because you're doing too much, but because you're carrying the weight of what you're not doing. The idea you haven't acted on keeps circling your mind. The conversation you keep postponing grows heavier with each day. And the longer you wait, the more distant your confidence feels. Not because it's out of reach, but because you've stopped reaching for it. The truth is, the perfect time doesn't exist. There's no ideal window where fear vanishes and motivation rushes in like a tidal wave. That fantasy keeps people frozen for years. But momentum is built through doing, not waiting. And the good news? It doesn't require a grand beginning. Just a small, honest one. You don't need to overhaul your life in one heroic gesture. You need to sit down and write the first sentence, even if it's terrible. You need to walk around the block, even if it's not a full workout. You need to call the person, open the document, set the timer, and show up, however imperfectly. Progress doesn't require perfection. It only requires motion. And when you move, even just a little, you begin to build a new relationship with yourself. You stop seeing yourself as someone who plans and start becoming someone who acts. That's where personal transformation begins. Not in clarity, but in courage. So ask yourself, what have you been postponing? Not because you can't do it, but because you're waiting to feel something first. What shift might happen if you let go of that story and allowed yourself to begin? Now, unready, unsure, but alive. Because here's what matters. You don't have to conquer the mountain today. You just have to take one step toward it. Don't wait for the perfect moment. It won't arrive. But growth will, if you stop justifying delay and start choosing movement. One quiet, honest step is all it takes to turn someday into today. 4. You don't have to feel ready to begin. Think back to a moment when you did something you were scared of. Maybe a presentation at work, a difficult conversation with someone you care about, or the first step into a project that felt far bigger than you. And after it was done, you had that quiet realization, I actually did it. Not perfectly, not without nerves, but you did it. And the fear you thought would paralyze you, it didn't win. Because here's the truth, most people overlook. We almost never feel ready before we begin. That's not a personal flaw. It's part of how the mind tries to protect us. It searches for certainty, for safety, for guarantees that don't exist. And while it waits, time passes, opportunities shrink, and the person you could become slips a little further away. Not because you're incapable, but because you've been taught to think readiness is a requirement. It's not. We've been told a lie that confidence must come first, that courage is something you find before the action. But real courage doesn't show up in advance. It arrives when you move, even with shaking hands. It grows in the doing, not in the thinking. The people you admire, the ones who took bold steps and made meaningful changes, didn't wait until they felt certain. They acted in uncertainty. They trusted that the feeling of capability would come later, and it did. The reason this matters so much is that delay doesn't just steal time. It steals belief. The longer you wait for the perfect moment, the more you reinforce the story that you're not enough yet. And that story becomes your truth, not because it's real, but because it's repeated. Readiness is not a condition you reach. It's a consequence of stepping forward. Every action you take, no matter how small, is a vote for the identity you want to build. That's how you rewire your mindset. That's how you shift from hesitation to momentum. Not through grand resolutions, but through a quiet willingness to act without full certainty. And that's the paradox. The more you practice acting without feeling ready, the more ready you actually become. Your brain catches up, your body remembers. You gather proof that you can handle more than you thought, that you're stronger than the fear made you believe. The key is this. Don't confuse discomfort with danger. Just because something feels unfamiliar doesn't mean you're not capable. Just because your heart races doesn't mean you're wrong. Those signals aren't stop signs. They're invitations. Invitations to step into a new experience, to explore new ground, to push past the mental limits that were never real to begin with. Because your potential doesn't wait for the perfect time. It waits for your decision. And that decision isn't about doing everything. It's about doing one small thing today that your future self will thank you for. So ask yourself honestly, what have you been telling yourself you'll start when the time is right? What part of your life have you put on pause, thinking you need to feel more ready, more skilled, more perfect? And what if that moment never comes? What if this imperfect, uncertain right now is your actual opportunity? Because it is. The most powerful change begins not when you finally feel prepared, but when you realize you no longer need to. You just need to act. Step forward before you feel ready, and watch what happens. You'll surprise yourself, not because the fear is gone, but because you chose to move anyway. And in that choice, you become the kind of person who doesn't wait for life to begin. You begin it yourself. 5. Treat today as a new life. Imagine waking up this morning with no memory of yesterday. You don't remember the failures that kept you up at night. You don't recall the words that broke your confidence or the goals you abandoned halfway. You're not carrying the weight of regret, disappointment, or delay. All you have is now, a clean slate, untouched, waiting to be written. What would you do with that kind of freedom? If today were your very first day on Earth, how would you choose to live it? What would you say, pursue, or let go of? And if at the same time you knew it might be your last, what would you make matter before the light fades? That question alone has the power to reset everything. Because the truth is, today is a life all its own. But most of us don't treat it that way. We drag yesterday into today like an old suitcase that never gets unpacked. We replay stories that no longer serve us. We assume we already know how things will unfold because we've seen this scene before. But what if we didn't? What if you approached this day not as an extension of the past, but as a self-contained opportunity to start again, not symbolically, but practically? Not with grand gestures, but with deliberate attention to how you move, speak, and think from the moment you open your eyes. The reason we struggle to begin again is not because we're incapable. It's because we've forgotten that we're allowed to. We think we need a milestone, a dramatic event, a new year, a breakdown to earn a reset. But that's a myth. The truth is, you're one breath away from a new beginning. Anytime, any place. There's no permission required, no ceremony, no applause. Only the quiet decision to treat today like it matters. Like it's not just a space between two other more important days, but the very one that could change everything if you let it. When you see today as a mini life, everything shifts. You begin to take your choices more seriously, not out of pressure, but out of purpose. You ask yourself, what would I do differently if this were my only chance? And that question strips away the noise. You don't chase every distraction. You don't drown in what-ifs. You don't wait for motivation to strike. You act, you focus, you live. Because you understand that this moment isn't a rehearsal. It's life, and it's happening right now. This mindset doesn't demand that you fix everything today. It invites you to become someone new in small, real ways. Maybe you speak with more kindness. Maybe you keep the promise you made to yourself last week. Maybe you forgive someone, not for them, but for your own peace. Each choice is a vote for the person you're becoming, and if you cast enough of those votes, identity follows. Over time, that's how you rebuild yourself. Not through dramatic reinvention, but through a steady, committed shift in how you show up daily. So let go of the idea that today is just another page in a long, tired book. It's not. It's a new volume. It's the first chapter of a story that hasn't been written yet. You are not beholden to yesterday's version of you. You don't have to carry every regret or explain every past misstep. You're here. You're alive. And that is enough to begin again. Not in theory, but in practice. So the question remains, how will you live this day, this life, this singular opportunity to start over? Not someday, not symbolically, but right now. 6. Take full responsibility. You've said it before, maybe not out loud, but in the quiet corners of your mind. If they hadn't left me, I wouldn't be struggling right now. Or if that job hadn't let me go, I'd be so much further ahead. And maybe for a while, those thoughts felt true. They gave you something to hold on to, someone else to point to, a reason why things didn't work out. But then one day, you stand in front of the mirror, and there's no one else in the reflection. No boss, no partner, no parent, no friend to blame, just you. And the only question that matters, what am I going to do with what I have right now? That moment doesn't always come with fanfare. It's not some epic realization. It's quiet, sobering, and honest. It's the point where you stop waiting for the apology, the comeback, the perfect conditions. You stop waiting for life to bend in your favor, and you start accepting that your power was never in what happened to you. It was always in how you choose to respond. And that's what responsibility really is. It's not self-blame. It's not guilt. It's ownership. It's refusing to hand over the pen and letting someone else write your next chapter. Responsibility is one of the most misunderstood sources of power. People avoid it because they think it means carrying everything alone, admitting fault, or pretending they weren't hurt. But it's not about that. It's about reclaiming your authority over your direction. It's about saying, maybe I didn't cause this, but I will decide what comes next. When you take full responsibility, you stop outsourcing your peace. You stop making your healing dependent on whether someone else says sorry. You stop postponing your growth until the world finally gives you a green light. You give yourself the green light, even if it's trembling, even if it's messy. It's not an easy shift. At first, taking responsibility feels like a weight. You realize no one's coming to save you, but eventually that weight transforms. It becomes a strength. It becomes clear. Because now you know where the power lives, and it's in your next action. Not in the past, not in what should have happened, not in what they did or didn't do, but in what you're choosing to do now with full awareness, full presence, and full commitment. You begin to see that you're not powerless. In fact, you never were. You just gave away your power every time you said, I can't because they won't, or I would, but they didn't. That story kept you stuck, and the longer you told it, the more real it felt. But it was just that, a story. The moment you shift the narrative from blame to ownership, everything changes. You no longer live in reaction. You start to live by design. Your mindset resets, your energy recalibrates, and your life, over time, follows. This doesn't mean you never stumble again. It means when you do, you know where to turn to yourself. Not because you have all the answers, but because you trust that you can find them. Not because it's easy, but because you're done waiting for someone else to hand you a new beginning. You're creating one. So here's the hard question. Where in your life are you still pointing outward? Where are you still waiting for something or someone to change so you can move forward? And what would shift if today, in this quiet moment, you said, no more excuses, no more delay. I own this, I begin again. That choice may feel small, but it's not. It's the first step into freedom. Not the kind that's handed to you, but the kind you build with courage, with honesty, and with your own two hands. And that truly is the most powerful freedom there is. Small actions shape big identity. People love to say this Monday everything will change. But Monday arrives and life looks exactly the same. No big breakthrough, no dramatic shift, just the same routines, the same doubts, the same delay disguised as planning. That's because transformation doesn't come from declarations. It comes from discipline. Not loud, impressive, Instagram-worthy discipline, but quiet, unglamorous consistency. And the truth is, you don't need a bold proclamation to start rebuilding your life. What you need is one small, intentional act repeated every day, even when no one is watching. Especially when no one is watching. I have a friend who started with something seemingly trivial. He made his bed every morning. Not because he loved tidiness, not because it was part of some viral challenge, but because he was tired of abandoning things he started. That one habit became a symbol. It told his brain, I finish what I begin. And from there, he built more. Walking for 15 minutes a day, eating with more intention, setting a sleep routine. Nothing heroic, just choices stacked on top of each other, quietly redefining how he saw himself. And that's the point. Real identity change isn't sparked by massive action. It's layered, slow, and often invisible. We live in a culture obsessed with intensity. The all-or-nothing mindset tells you if you can't do it big, it's not worth doing. But that's a trap. It leads to burnout, to guilt, to self-sabotage, because no one can sustain intensity forever. But consistency? That's where the real power lives. The way you brush your teeth matters, the way you treat your mornings, the tone you use with your family, the way you respond when things don't go your way. These small acts, often ignored, are the exact building blocks of who you are becoming. Think about it. Brushing your teeth once for 2 hours does nothing, but brushing for 2 minutes every day protects your health for years. The same rule applies to your mindset. You don't need to meditate for an hour every weekend. You need 5 minutes of stillness every morning. You don't need to write a novel this week. You need to open your document for 10 minutes today. Because when you show up, just once, then again and again, you start telling your mind, I'm the kind of person who follows through. And your brain begins to believe it. Not because you said so, but because you proved it. This is where personal transformation gets misunderstood. People wait for motivation, thinking it will lead to action. But it's the other way around. Action creates identity. Identity creates momentum. Momentum creates transformation. And that entire chain starts with one small, repeatable habit. That's why some of the most powerful people you'll meet aren't the loudest. They're the most consistent. They don't talk about discipline. They live it, quietly, repeatedly, until who they are becomes aligned with what they do. So ask yourself, what small action can I repeat today? Not because it changes everything instantly, but because it begins to shift something inside me. Maybe it's drinking a glass of water before coffee. Maybe it's turning your phone off for 10 minutes. Maybe it's getting out of bed when your alarm rings the first time. None of those are big, but they are powerful because they send a signal. You are not who you were yesterday. You are becoming someone new. One decision, one step, one ordinary act at a time. And here's the quiet truth most people miss. The way you do one small thing reflects how you approach everything. Show up for the small things with presence, with intention, with care, and the big things start to shift on their own. Identity isn't built in public, it's shaped in private, through habits that seem too small to matter until they change everything. 8. The present is the only place you can begin. There are two kinds of people watching this right now. One is quietly thinking, I should start next week, maybe once things settle down. The other is whispering something different. I've waited long enough. Today, I choose to do something new. And maybe the difference between them seems small in this moment. Just a thought, just a pause. But fast forward a year, and you'll see how far apart they've grown. One is still making plans. The other living the life those plans were supposed to create. This is the truth most people resist. Your life does not change in the future. It only changes now. And until you see the present as the only real place you can begin, you will keep deferring your transformation to a day that never arrives. The past can't be touched. It's already written, already closed, already out of reach. The future hasn't shown up yet. It's still abstract, still unformed, still a fantasy. But the present is alive. It's the only place your hands can move, your voice can speak, and your choices can shift the trajectory of everything. That's why people stay stuck, not because they lack dreams, but because they keep outsourcing change to tomorrow. They tell themselves they'll start healing, growing, focusing, improving someday. But someday isn't a real day. It's a placeholder for delay. When you wait for the perfect time to take control of your life, what you're really doing is preserving your comfort zone and calling it preparation. You say you're not ready yet, but readiness isn't what you're missing. It's a commitment. And commitment doesn't grow in theory, it grows in the now. You don't become disciplined later. You don't gain clarity in the middle of hesitation. You step into both by stepping forward, even when it's messy, even when it's small. The longer you hesitate, the more distant that version of yourself becomes, the one who moves, who rebuilds, who resets with courage instead of delay. And here's the part that stings. No moment will ever feel ideal. There will always be reasons to wait. You'll always find distractions, responsibilities, and doubts. But none of those things have the power to stop you unless you decide they do. The real decision, the one that changes everything, isn't about doing more. It's about doing now. Even 5 minutes of aligned action in the present holds more power than weeks of overthinking and self-analysis. That's how the mindset rewires itself. That's how you stop overthinking and start living again. So the question isn't, when will you be ready? The question is, are you willing to begin, even now? Not when it's easy, not when you feel brave, but here, in this moment where change is hardest and most meaningful. Because if not now, then when? When does the next year slip by unnoticed? When is regret louder than resistance? Or will you let this be the day you take back your momentum? This doesn't mean you need to fix everything today. It means you need to stop pretending that delay is harmless. Because every time you tell yourself not yet, you teach yourself that the present is not worth living fully. You reinforce the habit of postponing the life you want. But when you choose to act today, even in a small way, you reclaim your voice, your power, your right to grow. And that one moment, just one, can change the entire direction of your life. So take a breath, not to think, but to move. Stand up, start the thing, say the words, break the cycle. You don't need another reason, you don't need a sign. You need this moment, and it's already here, waiting. Starting over doesn't require permission. It requires presence. No matter how far you've strayed, no matter how much time you think you've lost, the truth remains unchanged. It's never too late to rebuild your life with intention. The reset you've been waiting for doesn't begin next year, next week, or even tomorrow. It begins in the next breath, in the next choice you make, and in the mindset you decide to carry forward. Whether you're learning how to let go of your past, trying to restart your life after failure, or simply choosing to reset your life mindset, every act of awareness is already a step toward power. So don't underestimate the small decisions. They shape your direction. They shape your identity. And if you commit to making those choices with consistency, your personal transformation journey becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Now we'd love to hear from you. What moment in your life have you been carrying that you're finally ready to release? Or what choice are you making today to begin again? Share it in the comments below. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to start over too. And if this video helped you, don't forget to like it and subscribe for more grounded guidance on how to rebuild yourself, one step at a time.